The Mont Blanc pen landed on the contract with a dull, expensive clack that bounced off the marble floors of the Palm Beach mansion. My fingers turned to ice the second I read Clause 6.3. Any asset, income, or appreciation of value acquired by either party during the term of the marriage shall immediately and irrevocably vest solely in the name of Grayson Harrington IV. It tasted like someone had poured pennies down my throat. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the Atlantic glittered like it was laughing at me. Olivia Harrington stood there in her cream silk blouse, one manicured finger tapping the signature line like a metronome counting down my dignity. "Sign it, darling." She smiled, all teeth and no warmth, or Saturday's little garden party gets canceled. From the leather wingback, Grayson's father, Preston, swirled his 30-year Pappy Van Winkle, the ice cubes sounding smugger than church bells. And Grayson, my fiancé of 14 months, the man who'd whispered forever on a yacht in Capri just last month, studied the weave of his $4,000 loafers like the meaning of life was stitched in there. His silence was louder than any confession. "My name is Sloane Kingston. I'm 30, and I built an 8-figure commercial real estate empire out of nothing but spreadsheets and stubbornness. This is the story of how I made one of Florida's oldest families choke on their own silver spoon in front of 400 of their closest friends. I didn't grow up with trust funds or debutante balls. I grew up in a double-wide outside Jacksonville with a tin roof that sang in the rain. Dad drove trucks. Mom cleaned houses. They taught me that a person's word and their work are the only currency that actually matters. I paid my way through Wharton waiting tables at 4 a.m., then aced finance classes while everyone else was still hungover. First deal after graduation, $18,700 in savings, every dime accounted for in a Google sheet, bought a condemned strip mall nobody wanted. I learned how to patch roofs from YouTube, negotiated with contractors who called me sweetheart until the numbers shut them up, and flipped it for 6 times what I paid. Then I did it again. And again. By 29, my company owned half the warehouse district in Miami, and my net worth had quietly crossed $42 million. I never posted the cars, never name-dropped the private jets I could afford to charter. Money was armor, not jewelry. I met Grayson at an Art Basel party. He outbid me on a Basquiat I had my eye on, then walked it straight over and handed it to me. "Art belongs with people who feel it," he said, blue-green eyes doing that crinkle thing that makes smart women stupid. I laughed. "I can buy my own art." "That's exactly why I want you to have it." He grinned. "You're not boring." He told me he was exhausted by the Worth Avenue circus, air expectations, the same 10 families marrying each other since the Civil War. "I want something real, Sloane." I believed him. God, I actually believed him. The Harringtons welcomed me with mimosas on the ocean terrace, invites to the Mar-a-Lago New Year's Gala, and compliments sharp enough to draw blood. "Such a unique success story," Olivia would say, eyeing my lack of a Lilly Pulitzer pedigree. "Self-made, how refreshing." Preston chuckled over cigars like I was a charming charity case. Then, 2 weeks before the wedding, the mask slipped clean off. The prenup showed up in a navy Hermes folder like it was a birthday gift. Everything I earned from the day we said "I do" would belong to Grayson. Everything. No alimony, no spousal support, no claim to anything I built while wearing his ring. I looked across the table at the man I was supposed to marry in 9 days. "You knew about this?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "It's just standard for families like ours, babe. Please don't make a scene." A scene. That's what my entire future was worth to him. Not making a scene. I smiled the sweetest smile I'd ever smiled in my life. "Of course. I'll have my lawyer look it over." Olivia relaxed. Preston smirked into his bourbon. Grayson exhaled like he dodged a bullet. They had no idea the bullet was already in the chamber. That night, in my Brickell penthouse that I paid cash for, I made 2 phone calls. First to my attorney. Execute Fortress Protocol. Tonight. Every property, every LLC, every brokerage account, every single dollar moved into an ironclad domestic asset protection trust, untouchable by any future spouse or in-laws. Second call to the wedding planner. Hey, Lauren. Small change. Can you move me from bride to guest on the seating chart? Thanks, babe. Wedding morning was perfect Florida winter, 78 degrees, bougainvillea exploding purple against the ocean. The Breakers' lawn was dripping in white orchids and old money. 400 guests in pastels and seersucker. I showed up at 4:58 p.m. in a backless emerald dress that cost more than most people's rent, hair down, diamonds only in my ears, because I bought them myself. Walked straight down the aisle runner while the string quartet was still warming up for the bridal entrance. Took a seat in the very last row. Crossed my legs, smiled. You could have heard a champagne flute shatter in Boca. Olivia spotted me first. She stormed over in her mother of the groom blush chiffon like a hurricane in heels. "What in God's name are you wearing?" she hissed. I pulled the unsigned prenup from my clutch and handed it to her like a party favor. "You said sign it or the wedding's off." I didn't sign. Preston barreled over next, face the color of a tomato bisque. "You entitled little gold digger, you will never—" I reached into my clutch again and pulled out the brand new Forbes that had hit newsstands that morning. Held it up so the entire front row could read the cover. Queen of the Flip. How Sloane Kingston turned grit into a $42 million empire, no trust fund required. Preston's mouth opened. Nothing came out. I looked him dead in the eye. "I never wanted your money, Preston. Turns out I have 42 million reasons I never needed your son." A collective gasp big enough to ruffle the palm fronds. Someone's phone hit the grass. Grayson just stood at the altar looking like a Ken doll someone had forgotten to wind up. I stood, smoothed my dress, and walked back down that aisle like I owned the place. Because I do own myself. Always have. Always will. By the time I reached my car, my phone was exploding. "Grayson. Sloane, please, we can still fix this." "Olivia. You have destroyed my family." I blocked every Harrington number with the same satisfaction I get when a deal closes 7 figures above, asking. 2 days later, the engagement was officially terminated. On their letterhead, no less. My lawyer sent me the screenshot with a single emoji. "So tell me, what would you have done? Signed away your entire future for a lying prince and his evil stepmother? Or burned the whole fairy tale down and walked out richer, freer, and twice as fine?" Your call. P.S. If you love this vibe, do yourself a favor and grab the audiobook version of stories like these. I got you a code for a free month of Audible, link in my bio. Go treat yourself. You deserve it.